Hello, hello, I'm Buxicle, my pronouns are he, him, and today I'm going to be drawing the Winx Club because I found the old DVDs from my childhood and I've been rewatching them. And to say I'm obsessed would be an understatement, probably. I have yet to start dreaming about the Winx Club, but that is pretty much the only thing I'm missing. And I know I'm completely obsessed because the Winx Club made me jump back into digital drawing, which I had not done for like I'd say 2 months or something. Um but it was a big project. I was like, I can't do this. Traditionally, I'm so glad I didn't try because Jesus Christ, this was such a massive project and I'm very happy with it. The end result is like it's fine, but I just had so much fun drawing this that I love it so much. Um the hardest part about this whole drawing was probably finding the poses, which is saying a lot because this drawing was very difficult. But finding 5 unique and interesting poses that also like you have to keep the character's energy and stuff in mind. That's so difficult. My goodness. And it's actually the only reason that Aisha isn't included in this drawing because I just could not bring myself to try to find a 6th pose. I just didn't want to deal with it. So she's not here. I'm sorry. I'm mostly sorry to her because she's my favorite and she's just not here because I thought about her too late. And then I didn't want to deal with any more poses. I've also since drawing this fallen down a rabbit hole of 2000s fashion, and it's not good for my brain because I'm having too many creative ideas and I simply do not have like enough time in my life, like in my lifetime, to draw all the ideas that I have. It's bad. It's really bad. Because I'm just, scrolling through Pinterest and then I see something so cute and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is so Stella. I have to draw her in this clothes." And I save it and then I scroll a little bit further and I see another outfit and I'm like, "Oh my god, Stella would also look amazing in this one." And I have like 20 drawing ideas and I just do not have the time for this. And I honestly, because picking the poses is what takes the most time, I honestly think I'm just gonna go with a set of poses and just reuse them, but with different outfits because my brain is melting from having to find all these different poses. I can't do this. I have also added days to this recording, or like to this video, to try to show you, I don't know, how many days these kind of things take, and like when I stop and start, because it can be kind of difficult to tell even for myself when the day, like when I stop drawing and start again the next day is it's a bit easier to tell when it's like in person videos or whatever you want to call that, because you can see the lighting change or something. But yeah, I don't know, I thought it'd be an interesting thing to add, see which how much I get done in one day and stuff. I had some trouble with Musa's pose. She's a very extreme person, I feel like, but I didn't want her to stand out too bad from the rest. So I merged her like official like the pose she has in her transformation, and then I found some fan art, and I will link the artist in the description of the art, and I I Frankenstein those two together. I hope you can't hear that. My cat is using her scratching board, and I'm not going to force her to stop because she's a little baby. She just got a new one, and she's actually using. I bought something for my cat, and she's actually using it as intended. I'm as surprised as you are. For this is Tekna, and I wanted her to be the most down to earth, more like natural pose of the group. But I obviously also wanted her to have a little bit of interest. Um, well, I didn't even film me like tweaking all the poses, but I think there ended up being like 8 or 10 of them, just like slightly different from each other, and I struggled to pick which one was best. But eventually, with the help of my mother, I picked one. She picked one. I was like, yeah, no, that you're correct. I'm picking that one. I think for me, Tegna's a very, very interesting character. Like I feel like when you think of her, she's a bit more like tomboyish of the group, but like she's also like she's not afraid of the glitz and glam. Like it's not that part she doesn't like. Um, in this light, like she's a very practical in her personality and stuff, and in the tech she has around her. But like you can tell she loves a little bit of glitter, and I respect that so much. I think she's just a wonderful character. I really enjoy watching her on screen, and she kind of like brings the rest of the group back down to earth, and I very much appreciate her role. I feel like she's a very underrated character. And oh my god, her hat, right? Why does she have a hat? Nobody else has a hat on. I hated it. I struggled so much with this stupid freaking hat. She just looked like an egg. I don't want to draw an egg. I want to draw a person, a Tekna, even, not an egg. It was awful. Um, I did honestly consider just throwing it away, just ignoring it completely. But then I was like, then she's gonna be the only one who has a tweaked design, and all of the rest are gonna be like their canon designs, and I didn't want that either. So then if I decided to just remove her hat, I'd have to go back in and tweak all the rest of the designs, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do for the other girls. Like, I like their designs. I think they're really, really good. I love seeing people's redesigns, but I'm just not really redesign kind of guy, you know? I like I like my characters the way they are, and I like seeing other people do redesigns and stuff. I love seeing stuff like that. Seeing like people get creative and stuff. But I'm just not very good at it myself. Honestly, I think Musa might have been my favorite to draw. She's not necessarily my favorite in the end, but I just had a lot of fun drawing her. Her hair and the hand on her headphones gave me so much trouble, but other than that, she was just lovely. Like I loved, I think it's her body type that I just really like the more the shorter, more plump body type that I gave her. um, yeah, her hair just it's so unnatural and weird. I couldn't figure out how to do it, and in the end, I just brute forced it. There was a lot of parts where I like kept putting things off because I wasn't sure how to do it, and in the end, I was so done with working on it because I have like a time frame. Like I can work on a piece for a certain amount of time before I just start hating it and I never want to touch it again. And I could feel myself like reaching that point, and I was like, I have these specific things that I don't like, and I honestly just have to force it and not think too hard about it because otherwise I will never finish this drawing. And I'm glad I picked that route. I'm glad I really just brute forced it because I was never like Bloom's face and moves his hand on her headphones, I was never going to get to a point where I truly liked it. Speaking of Bloom, oh my god, she gave me such a headache. I like I've saved her for last because I just did not know what I wanted her pose to be. I'm not gonna keep a secret that she is my least favorite of the bunch. She just feels so generic and like a basic hero, whatever. And but also she just feels like a problem magnet. Like doesn't matter what she does, doesn't matter where she goes, there's going to be a problem around her. Which obviously there has to be, because there has to be something happening in the episode, but I don't know. I feel like with the other characters, the problems they run into feels natural for their characters, whereas Bloom just kind of does whatever will cause the most problems as opposed to what her character would do. Like, for example, when Stella is invited on a date by quote unquote Sky, it's natural that she goes and doesn't really think too much about it, doesn't really like it's natural for her to not really think too much about it, for not to really second guess it or anything, because she's just so excited to go on a date with him. Please ignore Bloom's face. You are not allowed to comment on how ugly it looks. Okay, I said I brute forced it because I hate it. And then she gets tricked and blah 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 blah. That problem makes sense. And then you have later on in the series, and I will admit it's my most favorite moment from Bloom, and it's why I like it. It's why I remember it. Riven's being a total douchebag and she ends up yelling at him and putting him in his place and being like, "You're a total jerk," which he is. Um, which like sets the whole episode up. But I just don't feel like it makes any sense for her character. Like we've never seen her explode like that before. Like just yell at someone. Um, it felt super super random, and that's kind of what I mean. Like she doesn't really have certain actions that she does. She just kind of acts however, like in whichever way will cause the most problems. And she kind of annoys me. But I also wanted her to kind of unite the group with her pose, which is why I put her like front forward standing, if that makes sense. Because since they're an odd number, if she was facing left or right, it would kind of lean the whole group that way. So, like, if she was leaning right, then everybody who was leaning left was like the odd one out, if that makes sense. And so I ended up going with her whole like Winx hands things that she does. And I feel like that makes sense, for where she's standing and like everything else. I like. It was very difficult. The whole hands, like arms above the head, is very very difficult. I'm not very good at drawing shoulders, but it was worth it. I think it worked out. I made myself like a little list up at the top of the things that I need to that I still need to fix, because otherwise I will forget or lose motivation to fix it. So I write myself lists in order to be able to cross the thing off the list and then give myself the happy little dopamine thing. I struggled so much with the hands. They took me so long to get right, all of them. Like 5 people. I drew 5 people. Do you know how many hands 5 people have? They have 10. That's simply too many hands. You have ever drawn 10 hands? I hope not, because if you have, I feel really, really bad for you. Um, some of them I was able to like copy, like Bloom's hands are just copied from each other, so that makes it a little bit less annoying. So at this point, I have slowed down this footage pretty much from now on, because I don't know what was up with me. I think I was just very, very confused, or like frustrated. I don't know what, but the camera is flying all over the place, and it is genuinely nauseating to watch. So I've slowed it down a bit, done a little bit more editing than I usually do. I typically just speed up the whole footage and let you watch all of it. Um, Slowed it down a bit. It's still like at 5 times speed or something, but I don't really have anything to say, I'm gonna be honest. Just kind of enjoying the whole coloring thing. I always really like watching edited down coloring, but I hate editing down my coloring because it is such a mess. I'm not I'm not very good at coloring. I also just picked the colors from their original design because I just cannot be bothered to actually like pick my own colors, and like I specifically struggle with saturation. I never know how saturated a color should be because the less saturated a color is, the closer it is to gray, and therefore the closer the colors are to each other and are a little bit easier to work with. But I also, I want a saturated piece. I want a saturated drawing. I like me some bright colors. There's a reason why I like the Winx Club so much. But then it just gets really, really difficult making sure the colors don't clash, and like even if a piece is saturated, all the colors aren't necessarily equally saturated. I just really, really struggle with that. And it's so funny because when it comes to traditional drawing, where I have like a set of markers or a set of colored pencils, I don't struggle with coloring at all. It's only digital coloring that I suck at so much. And it's because I have this endless array of colors and I just never know which one to pick. Whereas traditionally, when I have this specific set, they have their set saturation. I can't like mess around with that. I can only pick the colors, the shade, the hue themselves. That's the only thing I have control over, really. So that's a very interesting. I'm trying to keep that in mind. Like I'm trying to have that in my head and make a system that then works for me when I'm doing a digital drawing, but I have not set up a system yet. So yeah, I'm not super happy with Bloom's face, but whatever. Um Honestly, Techna became totally my favorite the moment I added the shield to her. I I love her so much now. She just looks wonderful. And then it actually started um with Flora because her hands like seemed kind of weird. I was like, what are you doing with your hands? So I added magic to her hands. And then I was like, well, then both Bloom and Musa are kind of missing something to do. And Musa was so difficult to give something to do because like she doesn't really have magic come out of her hands. She makes things, like she makes a speaker. So I tried to give her a speaker, but it was just really clunky and took up a lot of space. But then it was actually my dad who gave me the idea of like giving her music notes like out of her hands and stuff. And that worked. I feel like that really looks good. And like I don't know how to explain. Makes her more like a music fairy instead of just a girl with headphones and wings. And then I struggled with the background because I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I wanted to add some kind of depth to it, but I wasn't sure what. So I tried to make my own like hallway and stuff from the like it's using the series as a reference, but it just didn't really work out because perspective is very, very difficult. So I just took a screenshot from the episode where they break into the cloud tower to steal back Stella's ring, and I just like color picked that and just drew under it and took that and like basically just took away the characters. Um, at some point, I switched Stella and Flora's position in the lineup because Stella's wand was getting in the way of Bloom's magic. And I really like the lineup it ended up with, because you have the tall ones at the sides, and then you have the shorter ones, and then you have Bloom, who's a little bit taller in the middle, who's like a pretty medium height in the middle. And I really like the symmetry of it. It makes me very, very happy. I decided to switch the background color from that green teal thing to a purple, because to me it seemed like the least apparent, like at least their color in the lineup. It's really only Tekna, and I felt like if I just picked a different shade of purple, that it wouldn't clash with them. In hindsight, the teal does the same thing. It's a very different shade from Tekna's green, but I like the purple. I also struggled with Musa and her values, because she is the darkest of all of them, both with her hair but also with her clothing. Yeah, so I ended up putting a pillar behind her head, so I was able to lighten it and make it slightly lighter than her hair, and then the background part behind that was slightly darker than her hair. So it works in a way, but it's a little bit janky. She's not the most visible, but I think it works. So at some point I decided to not do any like shading and stuff. I just could not be bothered. I was like, I have worked on this for way too long. I don't want to do any shading. But here at the end, I did go in and add a little bit of blush and a little bit of like the darker areas on their neck and stuff. But I did not touch their dresses and stuff. Oh yeah, and I also added highlights to their hair, and I feel like that just really pulled the whole thing together. Like I had two moments during the drawing where I just felt like it just came together, and it was during this hair highlighting, and it was when I added the glitter to all of their dresses and stuff. I was like, yes, this is it. And also kind of when I added the magic, that was also a really big moment. I really really like their whole magic and stuff like that. It it separates them. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm super happy with how this came out. I just had a lot of fun while drawing it. It's not necessarily the prettiest thing I've ever made, but I just had a lot of fun drawing it. So I'm very happy with it. Thank you so much for watching. Next time I'm going to be talking is probably going to be another Winx video, but that's probably going to take a while, so there will most likely be a couple of those like ASMR style videos in between. That's it. Thank you. Goodbye.